Hello everyone, welcome to Psychology of Adolescence Psych 33201, and this is our final project, our mini podcast. My name is Yusuf Ali and I have my classmates from the right.
I'm Rochelle.
Ziamara.
I'm Christine.
And we're gonna cover a few of the topics on adolescence, starting with the question.
So our first question is kind of a general understanding question. So to start off, as a parent, how has your perspective on adolescence changed as your child has grown with the years? Like, what are the different parenting styles you use? Like, what has changed overall?
Wow, that's a great question. I think someone can answer it better who has the both perspective from the parent side and from the child side. So I guess you can answer it better.
It's been with my son crossing over into the teenage years and going through puberty and all of that. It's been extremely challenging as a mother because my maternal instinct is so strong in keeping him safe and protecting him from the world. And when he was younger, I would put parental controls on his phone, try to track him. And he would find ways around that. So now that he's older, it's a struggle, not knowing where he is, him wanting more freedom, more autonomy to hang out with his friends. I worry if he's safe out there. So letting go has been a big challenge for me, just because we just want to protect him, but let go gradually, and that part has been really hard. Yeah.
So from the controlling perspective, I never liked my parents controlling me, my phone, or who I'm actually hanging around with, or what am I doing in personal life. Like I always wanted to learn music and like drama and all kind of creative stuff, but my parents was always like, no, you have to study more. So no video games, no phones, no sports, no friends, only study and give me a good grades. So this never actually gave me a good or positive vibes from the parenting styles. What about you? Like, did you face the same or?
Yeah, I agree. It was more like get the good grades, focus on studying, and it was like I couldn't do what I enjoyed. It was more school and just no freedom either.
Like the homeworks?
Yeah.
I understand.
I agree completely. I feel like this definitely ties in with the idea of communication. I feel like growing up, I wish my parents were more understanding in the sense of like why I wanted my freedom, like why I would want to go out with friends and everything. Because my parents as well, like they would try to control. I don't want to say control, but like at least from my perspective, it felt that way. Like them wanting to know my location all the time, who I was hanging with. Like now as I've grown older, like I understand why, because like I have my younger siblings and I'm like, where are you going? And I'm not their parent, but I can see like the protectiveness of it, but sometimes I feel like growing up, I wish I communicated with them better. Like when you guys do this, it makes me feel this way. Like there's no trust, but there is some sort of trust. They're just scared of the world outside of just our home and like who we know.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's a lot still.
Yeah.
But I guess in that sense, it also ties to the question like how we feel about our parents trying to solve our problems instead of just listening. So like, how did you guys feel about that when they wouldn't listen to what you had to say?
It was always like, I'm right, you listen to me, never listen to like your perspective, because as it's like you were going through the problem, but they think like since they're older and they have more experience, that they know what they're talking about, but sometimes they don't. And yeah, they don't understand, I don't know, especially in this generation.
What about you? Okay. So for me, it's kind of a different thing. Like since I'm like not a child anymore, not in my adolescence anymore, so this is what I feel. The time I was in a particular problem, like for the generational gap, like they may solve the problem in a harder way, but nowadays they're like the technologies, there are so many things that the problems are different, much more complicated. So they think like I have to go through the harder way that they actually experience, but that's not true. Like I can solve the problem with a little bit of your help if you just listen to me. But they don't listen. They're like, no, I know better than you. That's so like, oh my God, yeah, I understand you know better than me, but come on, like things are different right now. What do you think, like, for your kids, like when you actually went through the problems and now your child go through the problem, is that the similar or you have seen the difference?
Well, with my parenting style, I'm more authoritative. So whenever he would have a problem, I would try to listen empathetically. And actually, I always use the skills of not trying to solve his problems and be more of a good listener. Because sometimes they have a bad day at school and maybe they had conflict with friends and they come home in a bad mood, and it's not about you, the parent, trying to solve those things, but just being present in the moment and allowing them to just release those emotions, which is when they come, they come home and that's their safe place to.
The generational gap I was actually talking about. Maybe like I have a very good friend, but my parents don't like them. Maybe I'm in a relationship with someone, my parents don't like them. So whenever I'm going through difficult times with them, and then I come back home and I share with my parents, they're like, I told you before. So it's actually giving much more flame in those relationship or friendship, and then you end up ruining things. So maybe you think like parents gonna help you, but it just backfires the situations. That's what I believe.
That's your experience, yeah.
I feel like it's definitely different for everyone. I feel like, wait, I'm losing it. No, time out. I don't know. Like in my household, with my situations, if like they were presently listening, but they weren't hearing the words I have to say. And in a sense, like that still happens because they're very old school and everything. And especially with the idea of mental health, like they don't really, at least I know from my Hispanic parents, my old school Hispanic parents, they definitely don't understand, unfortunately. Like they understand the concept of it, but they kind of refuse to believe it'll happen to their own children. So having like them just listen instead of like fully like attentively listening to me either, because their idea of like listening and helping is like finding a solution for me, and I don't want that. Sometimes I just want them to listen, like you do with your son.
Yeah.
And I wish like I had that type of situation, because then there wouldn't be as many challenges, such as like us always facing back and forth conflict because they're not hearing me. But I'm glad that you do that for your son, that you listen.
Yeah, I think because of the age gap between you and your parents, it's some of them didn't go to higher education, so they lack the conflict management skills or all of the challenges with dealing with the new age teenagers, So they always try to incorporate the old school values into the present day, and the world has shifted in such a tremendous way that the old school style of parenting, it doesn't work anymore. And then they're not doing the research or reading books on how to adapt.
Agreed.
And that's where the conflict comes in.
I agree 100%. I feel like there's just so many new techniques, and especially like for you, like you're in school right now and you're like taking the time to learn. I feel like they offer that in schools, like they tell parents to come in and like to learn about these new methods and how we're progressing. But some parents like they don't want to keep up with that either. Like they're like really choosing to like let me just stay back and like continue to work with my methods because that's what worked for them back then.
Yeah, they tend to be very stuck in their ways, the old school generation. And I myself, I do have a lot of old school traditional values, but yet I'm still here trying to learn the new ways and evolve and apply it to my everyday life. This way, I find that there's a balance with me where I get along with young people and much older people because I'm in the middle. So, I'm able to form very, just relationships that flow with all ages. Yeah.
You're just like the peacemaker in the middle.
Yeah.
You just take everyone's perspective. But that's good. I love being able to Because, like, even then, like, I can see where my parents are coming from, but because I'm growing up in this generation, it's like, please keep up. Like, understand where I'm coming from at least. But I'm glad that you're, like,
I'm open,
Yeah, you're open
just
to it.
Open-mindedness, it goes a long way, you know?
Mhm.
Openness to learning new things.
Yeah, I feel like we all are. Like, sometimes I don't understand my siblings because they're still in the same generation. They're just, like, a bit younger. But
Yeah.
even then, I'm still learning with them as well.
Yeah.
Time out?
This is just the beginning of a marvelous transformation that's starting to take place in your body. Right now, a battery of hormones is raging through your bloodstream, screaming, "Wake up, world! Judy's here!" Soon, you'll see hair in new places, and along with it, some fascinating new smells. Don't worry, a little deodorant will take care of that. You could also find yourself facing down a serious case of acne, or wondering why your clothes are getting a little snug in places. And then when you least expect it, a certain monthly visitor will arrive, delivering you to the threshold of womanhood. But there is a greater gift to womanhood. Do you know what that is, Judy?
My shoes! I wasn't prepared for that. Courtney, please don't make a scene, Miranda. Make a scene? These were only my favorite shoes. Why did you throw up on hers or those?
Alright everyone, welcome back to our mini podcast, and we have some amazing questions left.
Okay, next topic of discussion, mental health. So, for our adolescents here, how comfortable are you guys discussing mental health challenges with your parents?
For me, I never felt comfortable talking with my parents about mental health. I feel like they would, I don't know, sisters more like older, they kind of like push their emotions aside and just focus on like, oh, this is what I need to do. I don't care like how I feel at the moment. It's difficult because they never ask how I'm doing, if I need to talk. And yeah, and I don't feel comfortable enough to ask for their like opinions or like how to help me. I don't know.
How do you manage your own mental health?
I don't.
You don't?
Yeah, I kind of.
So you just
it's
live it
suppressed.
like that?
Yeah, it's suppressed.
It's
and
suppressed.
I just ignore it, to be honest.
Really?
I felt that. I feel like I was saying earlier, like, mental health just is not brought up in my household. Because my mom works in a school, so she has to like know about mental health and everything. So like listen to what she works in a middle school, so like they're barely going through it, but they still have their own problems, you know. So like for her, she's more understanding in that setting. Like they're not her own kids, but they're still kids at the end of the day, and they have their own things. But as soon as it's at home, personally, I don't like talking to them about it because of what I know. Like that they don't know or they don't want to believe that their own kids could be facing like anxiety or depression or like all of that stuff. So personally, like mental health and the challenges I face, I don't like discussing with them. Just out of like, I know that they're not open to listen to it. And yourself?
In my culture, in my country, people don't believe in mental health. So I used to tell my parents like, oh, I don't feel well. So they used to ask me a question. So what am I supposed to do? Take you in the hospital? I'm like, no. Like this is like I'm not like physically ill. Like I'm fit.
Yeah.
You know, if you ask me to run, I can run like next 1 hour. But it's not that. Like I just don't feel good emotionally. Why? Maybe I had a bad day at school. Maybe I went to a store. I see people being mean to me. So I'm like, no, like this is not how it's supposed to be. But that time I was like a teenager or just growing. So like, and sometimes like I felt so much peer pressure in the school because we had pressure to make a good grade and everything. So yeah, my parents, my society, my culture never believed in this, but slowly I understand like, okay, the thing you asked her, like how you actually managed it. So I started, keep myself busy with some other stuff. The thing I
Like
say
what?
that, yeah, like the arts, like music, sports, and everything else. So the more busy I am, the more I started becoming stress free. Like, okay, whatever happened, I have few tasks to complete. So I joined the band, and my family was against it. Like, no, you cannot do, because I'm a Muslim by religion. So like, no, it's not good. And they used to fear a lot because they think I will fail. Like, okay, maybe I'm doing sports, maybe I'm doing music, but at the end of the day, I will fail. It's not going anywhere, and it's not making money. So, like, okay, you're just wasting your time. Why don't you just study? Like, no, I need that. So that's how I started keeping myself busy with some other stuff. And I started joining a few communities that they actually working on some creative stuff, and that's how I just solve my mental problems or like some issues that came up in my life. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Our last topic, we're looking into how we as parents and adolescents can bridge this gap that we have. So in this sense, is what's one way you're able to handle conflict, and how would you improve your approach to resolving different issues?
I think change starts with the parent, because the world has shifted in such a tremendous way that parents need to catch up with who their teenagers are now. And they need to go within. Parents, they need to go within. They need to utilize resources that are available to them. There's books, there's podcasts, there are YouTube channels, there are seminars, workshops. There's a lot of resources out there for parents to utilize to better understand their teenagers on how to manage conflict, better communication, setting rules and boundaries, because the world has really shifted, and all of these resources that are available to them can create more harmony within the home and help them to coexist better.
I agree completely. I feel like it starts with open-mindedness. I feel like not only in parents, but us as adolescents as well. Because I feel like we all have our own struggles. We also have to understand where our parents are coming from. And I feel like as teenagers, that is hard to understand because we want to be able to be free and do all these things. But we also have to understand to a T, they're just doing this for my well-being. But I think parents should also be understanding that, we're teenagers. We need to learn to experience these stuff. I know for me personally, I wish my parents didn't keep me so, in a sense, hostile to my home, or just, practice and then run back home. Because it made me kind of fear the world for a second. Dang, there's so many things out there that are kind of scary, but I didn't want to be afraid because I live here, I want to be able to explore freely and not be scared of the subways or things like that.
Yeah.
So I feel like it definitely goes hand in hand with both.
But they sheltered you too much, and
Exactly. I understand it was for
protection.
their peace of mind and protecting me, but also understand that there's also a negative effect to it. Now I'm sheltered and I'm scared of city rats. That's crazy. I shouldn't be. But
what are you, Rochelle?
Going off of what you guys were saying, that shelteredness kind of affects me now, as if I'm not very comfortable just in public settings like this or stuff like that.
So as I was saying, that we are very end of this podcast, and I just want to end this up with 2 videos suggesting you guys to watch. The first one is Parents and Teens Can Communicate If You Know How. It's by Ruth Ulrich. And the second one is The Single Most Important Parenting Strategy. It's by Becky Kennedy. So watch these 2 podcasts and you will understand more the aspects of parenting styles and how to communicate, what the adolescents actually affect in a teenager's life, and as a parent, what you actually need in the present situation to understand your children better. So with this, I guess our podcast is done for this semester.
what?